wanted somewhere. That's
yeah. So, well, we all need to be wanted.
that's for sure. Yes, exactly.
Or should it be desired? Maybe it's desired. I don't know.
Probably a better word.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so I started recording. Our guest tonight is a good friend of mine, Dennis Bernstein. And I think, Dennis, I was thinking back when I first met you, and it's got to be a good 10 years.
Actually, Mike, it's actually a little longer than that, I think.
Is it really? Okay.
I believe so. It's definitely 10, could be a little longer.
I remember when we were incubating our incubator for the South
Yep.
Bay, and we had a big open house at Lee's law office, and
Yep.
and you catered it
Exactly.
with your daughter, I believe, if I'm
That's true.
if I'm
Yep.
not mistaken. Yeah, and so that was almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, good. Well, it's good to have known you all that time, and certainly you know the insights that you brought to class, and you've been generous with your time to come in and share with my students. I'm going to launch one other poll before I launch you, and that has to do with your topic. And let me see where people are at, and that topic happens to be networking. And as you guys know from the flyer, I said your network is your net worth. And I use a saying now, it's survive, network, and thrive. So let me see what you guys think here on the best way to network. And
Mike, I'll be right back really quick. Just
yeah, okay. Yep, go ahead.
I'll be right back.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you guys, what's the best way to network professionally? And I think one of the discussion questions, I think I have it for this class, is, you know, what you guys are doing during this lockdown to keep your professional and contacts up to date. And so let's see what you guys have to think here. So just pick one. What do you think is the best way to network professionally? By phone, text, email, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, face-to-face if it's available. That's a tricky one. And I probably should have had other on there too. I'm sure there's other ways to network. But these are the ones that came in with. So, all right, a couple more, 10 more. Interesting. Okay. Pretty predominant, actually. So, what do you think? What do you think it's going to be, Dennis? What do you think the answer is here?
Well, I mean, currently, I would say probably a lot of people are trying to connect with people, you know, either through LinkedIn or I think in the case of your students, perhaps Instagram, I think is probably maybe a better or a different kind of way to do it.
Okay. All right.
It's very hard to, I mean, it's generally relatively hard to connect with somebody new via email, only because most people filter some of that stuff and
they don't
do that unless you're getting some sort of sort of referral in. So, hey, Bill told me to give you a call, that kind of thing.
So there's the results.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so it's almost 60% LinkedIn, email a little bit, and Instagram. Instagram, I'm surprised. I thought maybe our students.
Yeah, at least I'm told that it's valuable.
Yeah,
I don't really use it a whole lot, even though my social marketing people tell me to use it, and they post stuff there, but I'm not entirely sure what that does.
All right. Well, I'm going to stop the share results, and maybe you can use this as a springboard. I did see one person on LinkedIn that said, "Hey, if you go on LinkedIn and instead of just pressing connect, is that you connect and interact and try and have a discussion or take it to the next level as to why you're connecting and what you're doing.
Well,
So what do you?
well, let me just, since you're there, let me just share a thought about that.
Okay, go ahead.
So I've probably been on LinkedIn. Well, I don't know when it started. I was pretty early on in LinkedIn, and you know, as I'm sure all of you know, it was generally at the beginning really a recruiter's tool.
Yep.
It's evolved into a, you know, more of a marketplace of connections. But my experience using it as a facilitation to meet people or to meet potential prospects or potential customers that I might want to do business with, I have found it not to be all that valuable, primarily because the connections that people have on LinkedIn, they actually don't know. So when people reach out to me to connect with me, which happens a fair amount, and actually a student here, I believe, has reached out to me. I haven't responded as of yet, but
Good for you guys. Good for
my
you.
first response to them is, you know, that's great. I really appreciate it, but is there a particular reason why you're wanting to connect, and how is it that you see us either doing business together, or working together, or partnering together? And generally speaking, most people will not respond to that. And so if that's the case, then why do I need to connect with them? It's of no value to me, or to them for that matter, because I need to know why it is you want to connect with me. Do you want to use my network? Do you want me to make introductions on your behalf? Do you want to do business with me? What is it? I mean, what is it that you want? I mean, that's the point, right? So one of the things I'm careful about is that the people that are in my network on LinkedIn are all people I can make a phone call to. They're all people that I can introduce to other people. And they're all people that know me. And that's the point of our conversation today. Um, Michael, you want me to just jump in now? I mean, it just seemed like it was a good way to go.
Well, you're jumping right in already. There
Okay,
you go.
all
We're
right.
talking about your network is your net worth, and what does that
Yeah.
all mean?
Well, yeah, exactly. What does it all mean? So, hey, good afternoon, everybody. I do appreciate your time. And I will tell you that this is an odd medium for me. I am a very sort of physical person. So when I'm in a room, I feel a lot better because I can interact with you on a very different level. There's just a little bit of space between us here, as much as we might try not to have that. And my conversation today with you is as much motivation as it is ideas, because my argument, my fundamental argument, and my objective today is to get you to understand that business, if you don't already know, is all done by people. And if you don't like people, and if you're not really interested in people, it becomes more difficult to find the connections and the influence that you need in order to be as successful as you might want. So, so that entail. And so what I'm going to start with is an old sort of Zulu greeting from South Africa. And that is when somebody that's in the Zulu community, when you stand before somebody, what you say to them is, I am here to be seen. And the person that you're talking to says, I see you. Well, okay, so that's all really kind of cool, right? But the fact of the matter is that there's a reason why that's so powerful. When you say, I'm here to be seen, You need to be as comfortable with yourself as you possibly can be. You can't be putting on airs or putting on faces or putting on masks in order for you to be somebody that you're not. I'm here to be seen means that you're there with the intention of that person getting to know you, getting to understand who you are. And you can't get into those conversations, you can't get there without letting go of whatever bias you might have or any preconceived ideas or judgments or you name it. If you want to connect with people, you got to be willing to you've got to be willing to be yourself. Now that seems like a relatively easy thing to say and a relatively easy thing to do, but I would ask you to reflect on yourself just a little bit and ask yourself, how many times when you meet somebody that you don't know, are you really open and ready to go? Open with who it is you are, open with any sort of, deficiencies you might have or problems you might have or things that you're not comfortable talking about. Now, I'm not saying you let that go the first time you meet somebody, but they've got to feel like you're willing to engage at that level. Because the bottom line is what you're trying to do is make friend. You're trying to make a friend. Because here it is. And I was taught this a long time ago by a guy that I now compete with in the insurance business. Uh, he's actually a good friend of mine, and we've known each other for a long time. And we were having lunch one day. I had just been introduced to him. We had chatted once on the phone, and we were having some lunch and bullshitting together. And he said to me, I learned a lesson a long time ago. He had started his career with Liberty Mutual Insurance, and he was working as a young producer. And a producer is a salesman in the insurance business. And he said there was this big, sort of sign over the wall of the office when you walked in. And it said this, and it's probably one of the most powerful things. I mean, I carry it with me today. I mean, it's just something that, I talk to my salespeople about all the time, and, I will continue to talk to them about it. And that it goes like this. All things being the same, people want to do business with their friends. All things being not the same, people still want to do business with their friends. Go out and make friends. Now, I can't tell you how many times that has had an effect on my life and on my career. So Mike and I go back, I don't know, 10 or so years. Mike and I have actually never done business together. Well, Mike, I don't think we've ever done any business together. I think I've put some deals in front of you at one point in time and that sort of thing, but I don't know that we've ever done any business together. And I can count on, I don't know, probably 50% of my friends in business are people I've never done business with, ever. But they're people that have introduced me to other people. And they're people that have looked out for me. And they're people that have, reached out with a hand when I've been in trouble or when I've been looking for something. And I believe they feel I've done the same thing for them. And that's the value of building friendship. In some cases, there's, the way you can look at friends I think you can look at friends in three different ways. There's the high and by kind of friends. Those are the friends that you have at work that maybe you come in and you're cordial to them, you're nice to them, but they're a high and by group of friends, right? And so let me, before I keep going, let me make sure that, if you guys want to step in and ask a question or make a comment or whatever, how does that work, Mike? If they want to do that, do they put their hand up, or how do I know?
Sure. Yeah. Well, we have chat.
Okay.
And that's what I've been keeping. I keep track of the role that way, but people can throw
Okay.
questions in the chat.
Okay.
They can raise. They can stick up a hand,
Okay.
a thumb. They can raise this way, and
Okay.
and everybody can unmute themselves. So
Okay.
yeah. So just if you have any points where you would like to get feedback, it's a good thing just to you have everybody. Do you have it in gallery view?
I do. I mean, I think I see most everybody. I'm not,
Okay. Yeah, and you can scroll from page to page and
yep.
just
Okay.
call on somebody. Just say, Joanna, what do you think about this, or something like that. So.
Okay. Well, I don't want to turn it into that, but what I want to
go
do.
ahead, turn it into that. That's a way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, you got 40 people on the line, so
Yeah.
not everybody's going to jump in.
Yeah. No, I got it. But I guess my point is, feel free. So, Nala, you had your thumb up. So did you want to say something, or?
Yes, because I'm one of those people who reach out to, sometimes old professors, but just sometimes people I meet out on LinkedIn for business networking. So if that isn't which I never thought was a good route, if that's not a good route, like, do you have better suggestions when it comes to like people you don't know as well, if you want to get to know them and network with them?
Well, let me make sure I understand. So you reach out to professors that you've had in the past that you guys have connected on some level, and you reach out to some other people you've connected to or have some connection to that's beyond just having met them.
No, sometimes it is just individuals that I've met. That's what I'm saying. Like sometimes it's professors. Yeah, I think that's standard. But sometimes it's just people that I've happened to meet and I somehow get across their LinkedIn account, or sometimes I will search for it depending on the person. And it does feel impersonal through LinkedIn.
Well, okay, but it's impersonal through LinkedIn until you say, why don't we jump on a phone call and get to know each other? Here's an idea about how you can do this. And this is what I've done so I can give this to you and you can fiddle with it and do what you want. But generally speaking, when I reach out to somebody because I want to get to know them, or they've reached out to me, I go, hey, I'd like to get to know you a little better, because I'd like to be able to, understand what it is you do, how it is you do it, and be able to introduce you to some people that I think might benefit you, that might be a benefit to you. See, that the message is that might be a benefit to you. I'd like to get to know what you do. I'd like to get to know more about you so that I can help you.
That makes sense.
Right? You're not trying to meet somebody so that you can benefit. Now, that may be something that comes down the line at some point in time, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're walking into a networking meeting, or you're walking into LinkedIn, which is essentially the same thing for my money, and you're walking in with your hand out looking for some, for the next lead or the next prospect or your next job, what do you think the chances of people doing that are? They're not going, it's not a transaction. It's a relationship that you're trying to build. And how is it that you build relationships? I mean, your relationships with your family are sort of built in, right? I mean, you kind of have them. You grew up with them. But building a relationship in a business environment requires what happens in a family, which is you looking out for the other.
Yeah.
Looking out for yourself, you're looking out for the other. Your first order of business is helping. If you want to make a friend in business, your role is to help them. Does that make sense to everybody?
It does. I appreciate that answer. It was different. I don't think I've heard that before, but I think that I should try that approach.
Yeah, I mean, look, everybody wants help, okay? Everybody, look, when you're, think about it, when you're on LinkedIn, everybody's trying to develop business. It's all happening. The fact of the matter is you want to be the one that stands out as somebody that is not really interested in yourself. You're interested in helping others. And by doing that, the benefit will come back to you. Because, I mean, just think about it, okay? It's a simple mathematical problem. If you reach out to people looking for stuff for you, how long is that going to last before everybody that is in your circle of relationships look at you, Nala, and go, well, Nala just wants stuff for himself. He's really not all that interested in anybody else. Your whole strategy is going to dry up. But if you're the one that is the center of let's say your 20 or 30 people that are your connections, your friends, and you're helping them, and then they're saying, look, I know a guy that might be able to help you, and then I know a guy that might be able to help you, and here's the value, Nala, here is the value that you're taking with you. When I help somebody, or I make an introduction on their behalf, or I reach out and do something for them, and I don't ask for anything in return, and then I do something for somebody else, and I connect somebody else, and think about the exponential of all of this. Look for a different word, but I can't find it right now. Maybe the geometric progression.
I think exponential is correct.
Yeah, fair enough. So what happens is at a certain point in time, after I've done this without really ever really looking for anything other than the opportunity for me to go back to you, Nala, and say, hey, Nala, I noticed that you know Joe over at this company. And I would really like to be introduced to Joe because I've got a product that I think he might value. I don't want to sell him anything. I just would like to talk to him about it to see where he stands. Would you mind making an introduction on my behalf? That is what's called social capital. Able to use the capital that you have built up over the years by helping people is when you get to use the capital and get the introduction that you want, or get the opportunity that you might need in order to further your career, or further what it is you're trying to accomplish in your business, or wherever it is you're at. But you can't get that unless you're the one you're investing in this. That's kind of what the whole point is. Social capital, you have to make an investment to have it. And the value of that is that when I make an introduction to somebody, look, we're all busy people. Mike's busy, I'm a busy guy. If somebody that I know introduces me to somebody, I'm going to take that meeting because I know that person wouldn't waste my time. Somebody that I know introduces me to somebody that they think I should know. I'm taking that meeting, when if somebody else reached out to me and said, hey, can you meet this guy? And I didn't know him, or I didn't really understand what it was all about, I would say, no, I wouldn't even bother. And it's the same thing the other way. When I introduce somebody to you or to somebody else, they're going to take that meeting because they know that I don't do those things lightly. They've worked with me for, over time, and know that when I make an introduction on their behalf, that's a value, that's something that they're going to value. I can tell you I've introduced students like you to people that have asked me after I've got to know you a little bit. I've done that because I know the person on the other end will take the time to talk to you. And the reason they'll do that is because I have built up social capital with them. I'm not saying I'm some unique guy. This is not rocket science, guys. It's a love of people. I love them. I like people. I really enjoy them. I enjoy learning about them. I enjoy getting to know them. And I'll introduce somebody personally. In other words, it's not necessarily even a business introduction to begin with. It might be somebody that I know that's an audiophile that loves music. And then I'm talking to somebody over lunch or over coffee or whatever, and they start talking about their love of music. Then I might say, you know what, you should really know Torsten, because Torsten really loves music. I think you guys would really get along. Now, what do you think might happen in that instance? Two people that like music, that are both in the business world, get together and they start talking about music. Well, where does the conversation go after they start talking about music? Well, where do those conversations always go? They go to business. I mean, they go to what, oh yeah, well, tell me what you got. What do you do? And oh yeah, what do you do? And the next thing you know, a friendship is starting to build. Okay. It's starting to build, and you have to build friendships over time. And you build friendships over time by staying in touch with them, seeing an article that you think might interest them, sending that article to them, saying, hey, I saw this, I thought you might be interested given your interest in this, or given what it is you're trying to accomplish, or whatever. It's having a point of view about thinking about the person that you're meeting. So let me give you some ideas about this, okay? When you meet somebody, okay, and so actually let me step back for just a minute, gather my thoughts a little bit. By the way, is this working? Is this helpful for everybody? Can I just kind of get a sense of, is there some value in what it is I'm chatting about, or not really? Okay, good. I just want to make sure that this is really hard for me because I can't really see you in your eyes. And if I was there, I could actually see it, and I could either see you falling asleep or actually engaging with me. So I'm a little at a loss. So and if you were falling asleep, I'd be walking right up to your desk and making sure you weren't falling asleep. But that's beside the point. So the one key to starting and building friendships is when you meet them and when you're talking to them, you're listening. And you're taking notes. I can't tell. It's probably a little better. I think I'm getting a glare into the office. So listening is probably one of the hardest things in the world to do. Do you know why?
Is it because we have selective hearing?
Well, yeah, I think that's probably one thing, is that you hear what you want to hear. I would say that that's part of the problem. I would venture to say that the bigger problem is that you're thinking about what it is you want to say when you get the opportunity. And that is the biggest problem of all, right? Because if you're trying to think about what it is you're going to say, whether it is you're going to say something that's going to impress them, or whether you're going to try and show how smart you are, or whether you're going to do this or that, if you're thinking about that, how much can you hear? And I share stories. I'm an anecdotal guy, and I can tell you that I learned this the hard way. And I learned it from somebody that was probably made me the most uncomfortable I have ever been in a conversation. And that is a person that when I finish talking, generally speaking, there wasn't anything coming out of that person's mouth right away. There was always a slight pause before that person ever spoke. And while I have tried to learn how to do that, I still struggle with it. I'm much better at listening than I was 20 years ago. But I find that the best listeners are the ones that pause after you say whatever it is you're going to say, because they've listened to the entire thing that you had to say. If you can learn how to listen to the person that's across the table from you, even at 70%, you will hear where the opportunities lie to help that individual, to understand that individual, and then to be able to carry on and build the relationship further over time. So it's a sense of hearing what they have to say and getting to getting to a place where you are willing to hear it all out. And the best way to do that is to take notes when people are talking to you. There's nothing the matter with it. You're there in front of them to get to know them. And then what's really great, because their software is so fantastic, you can grab your notes, and when you get back, you can get into your Rolodex. Mike, I have to say that every time because it's just so funny. There's no such thing as a Rolodex anymore. Mike, you want to tell them what a Rolodex is? Or maybe some people know what it is.
Yeah, that's a watch, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a...
Dennis, back in the day, people would pick up Rolexes in Thailand, right? For about 20 bucks. And they'd be showing them off. And of course, as soon as they got wet, they stopped working. But yeah, so we called them Rolodexes.
We call them Rolodexes. Rolodex is the old style of Outlook, your Outlook contact database. They were cards, index cards on a roller, and they were alphabetized, and then you put your contact there and all that other stuff. So you go back to your Outlook contact database and you enter in the person's information, or maybe they're already in, and then you drop in some notes. And then you schedule right away, you schedule, okay, when am I going to follow up with this guy about what I heard? And so then maybe 2 weeks later, you follow up with the guy and you say, or the gal, and you say, hey, you know what, when you met, you said something about this, and I thought I would I thought I would do this for you. That is where the power of all this comes from, but it only comes if you care about the other person and not about yourself. The value is building, when you want to build your social capital and it comes over a period of time, you're investing your time and energy in order to make friends. You made friends in school because you were sitting next to them, and you make friends at school here because you sit next to them and you're in a classroom together and you're next to each other. But making friends in the business world requires a little bit more effort, a little bit more work, right? So, hopefully in your lifetime, you'll find a mentor or two, and that mentor will look out for you, and that mentor will introduce you to people, and that mentor will help, but it won't be the end all to be all, right? It's not going to build a network of 100 or 200 people. Now, let's be clear, you can't have a network of 1,000 people. You can't manage that. You have to manage a group of people that can provide the value that you're looking for. And they're people that are like-minded. You don't want to make friends with people that aren't like-minded. That's a tough thing to do. So you have a group of friends that are like-minded, and then you have a group of friends that are a little bit less like-minded. and you manage them differently and you relate to them differently. All right, so I'm gonna stop for a moment. And then, so we have, how much time? We only have about 13 minutes or so, Mike.
Yep, 15 minutes. You want to do a breakout, or you want to have some discussion? What do you want to do?
No, well,
You're on a
actually,
roll.
I think I can sort of, just want to kind of make sure I hit on a couple things.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah. Okay. So let me offer a couple of more tips, and I want to, so how do you find friends? So Mike introduced this poll at the beginning of the session about, how are you meeting people, LinkedIn, email, that sort of thing. So, and I know that in the world we're living in right now, you're not able to get out and go to, meetups or networking groups or that kind of stuff, but that's only going to be for a short period of time. So what I would suggest to you is that the best place to meet people is to, go to different networking events, either in the field or the area that you're interested in, or broader networking groups, where I met Mike actually in a group that was an angel investment group. And understand and learn how to do that. Learning how to walk up to people that you don't know, that you've never met, and be able to introduce yourself and begin a conversation with somebody is probably the most important skill you can ever learn. It is hard to do, because especially once you've done it a little bit, you're going to walk into some of these networking events and you're going to see people that you know. And once you see people that you know, you gravitate to the people that you know. Think about yourself going to a party. If you go to a party, who do you gravitate to? Well, you gravitate to the people you know. You don't walk over to the people that you don't know. But I'm going to tell you, if you can learn the skill of not being afraid of walking up to people that you don't know and introducing yourself, then the value and the benefit of that is immense.
Can you role play that a little bit, Dennis?
Yeah, sure. So, and I'll be honest, I'm a reluctant extrovert. In general, I'm sort of an introvert. But in the job that I've had and the work I've done over the last 25 years, I've had to really sort of learn how to. So I've, for years and years, I'd go to networking events 3 nights a week. And so I'd go to those events, and invariably there'd be people I knew. And what I found after a little while was that I'd gravitate to those people and not meet anybody new. So I forced myself. At one point in time, I sat in my car and I said, okay, look, man, you're here to meet new people. So you got to learn how to do that. And you can't talk to anybody you know until you've introduced yourself to 3 people that you don't know. So I'd sit in my car and I'd pump myself up. So the way, it's a pretty simple thing. You walk in, you see somebody, you walk over to them, and then you go, hey. And if they're talking, you just go, hey, Mike, hi, my name's Dennis. I just got here. I'd like to get to know you a little bit. And what's your name?
Mike.
Hey, Mike, how long have you been at this event? How did you get to know about this event?
I just am kind of well-dressed homeless, and I just kind of wandered in off the street. But
okay. Wow, that's pretty cool. So how did you get to be so well-dressed as a homeless person?
well, I'm a very successful homeless person.
So you're choosing to live on the street? Are you trying to understand what it's like to live on the street?
Well, I'm not living on the street. I'm actually couch surfing, but hey, and I find good clothes along the way. So, and I meet
I would have never guessed that, Mike. That's pretty cool.
And what brought you here today?
Well, I got an invitation from Brian, who I've known for years. He's sort of one of the guys that puts these networking events together. And so I figured I'd stop by to see, I was in the area seeing a client. I figured I'd stop by and meet a few new people. And it's been great to meet you, Mike, because I don't know that I've ever met anybody quite like you. And so how did you find your success?
Well, Dennis, it's actually meeting folks like yourself, and it's how I can help you and how you can help me.
Right. So I'm going to stop, Mike, for just.
Yeah, thanks.
So here's the thing. The key here is
you at least had a conversation. That's all.
It's simple. It's as simple as this. Keep asking questions of the person that you're talking to. If they say something that throws you off or you don't really know how to respond, then just turn it around and ask more about it. If it gets uncomfortable, ask more about it till you understand it, right? It's just a simple, it's a lack of fear because the fear is in your head. Most people want to talk about themselves. So all you have to do is get them talking about themselves. And once they're talking about themselves, you can ask them a million questions until they don't want to talk about themselves. And then maybe they'll ask about you. And you do what? You keep your answers short and to the point, right? And then what you do is you turn it right back. So Mike, how does this work? Mike, how does that work? Mike, what can I do for you? You say your answers short and to the point and allow that person to keep asking questions, and then you turn it and ask them questions. And then at the end of the conversation, when you're finished with the conversation, well, you ask for a business card. Hey, you know what? Can I have your card? I think I might know somebody that I could introduce you to. Then when you get the business card, you go back to your office, and either that night or the first thing in the morning, you send out an email. And you say, hey, Mike, it was great to catch up with you last night. I really enjoyed our conversation. I'm going to be down in your neck of the woods on Tuesday. I thought maybe we could get some coffee in the afternoon and get to know each other a little bit better. Now you get to decide whether that person is somebody you want to get to know better or not. That's fine. But if it is, that's how you do it. You send the message, hey, Mike, really enjoyed our conversation. I'm going to be in your neck of the woods on Tuesday next week. I've got some time between 3 and 4. Be very specific about when you can meet, at what time you can meet. Don't open it all up because you own your calendar and you need to understand that if he says, no, I can't meet that day, then you're great. Okay, great. What day and time works for you? And I'll work my schedule around it, right? The other thing is, and this is one of the things I would recommend as well, come up with a really interesting salutation at the end of your emails. Something that people might remember, not just respectfully or my best or thank you or whatever. You know, come up with something that's a little bit different. Mine happens to be my best in health and spirit. I just added health and spirit, and I can tell you I've never seen anything remotely that looks like that. And I have had people say to me over the years, boy, that's really a unique salutation. So that you're trying to catch somebody and get them to remember you a little bit. So,
hey, Dennis, can we back up the truck just a little bit?
Sure.
At our first meeting, okay, you walk into an event.
Yep.
And most of my students now have gone to Toastmasters, and they've done some networking, but it's been online. But we all look forward to going into networking events or dread doing that. How long should you have a conversation with somebody before you move on? And when do you know that time is?
Yeah, it's a good question, Mike. I think that in general, there's a sense of, is this you can usually feel whether the person on the other end of the conversation is actually engaged, right? So I don't really know how to answer that other than if there's not a fair amount of back and forth going on where that person is asking you questions or you're asking them and they're answering them and engaged, then you might be able to say at a certain point in time, within a relatively short period of time, hey, really nice meeting you, Mike. I'm going to head on over and chat with Joe, who I, hope to see again. What?
You break away.
Yeah, you break away,
Yeah.
and you know, and there's nothing the matter with that.
Yeah.
You won't break away from a conversation where there's people smiling, right? So if you're talking to somebody and you can get them to smile and you can sense that they're with you, then you carry that conversation on as long as you possibly can until, you don't really want to talk more than 10 or 15 minutes in that initial meeting.
That's a long time. Yeah.
To see and that sort of thing. And generally speaking, here's a good way to do it. You want to do something really cool? When you're talking to that new person and you see somebody that you know, then you say, you grab your finger and you go, hey, Joe, come on over here. I want you to meet somebody.
Right.
And you introduce them to somebody you know. And then you let them start chatting and you go and find somebody else.
Break it away. Yeah.
That's
it's called, work in the room, right? So
it's called work in the room.
Yeah. So you come in and there's 15, 20, 30 people. You don't know any of them, like you said, and I really respect that. Don't go to who you know, because you're not going to gain much from that.
That's right.
And I remember before you had said, I will not go to somebody I know before I meet at least 5 people.
That's right.
Or you had some kind of a number there that you said, I want to meet 5 new people before I go in a comfort zone with who I normally might meet. Is that true still?
Is that true still?
Yeah.
Absolutely, it's true still.
Okay. All right, good.
Yeah, for me, absolutely.
That was great.
It's not the easiest thing for me in the world to go to actually meet new people. I do it because I do it. And, I have a lot of friends and I'm drawn to those people because we're like-minded and we've done business together or we've made connections together. And so I'm drawn to that when I go and meet in a group of people.
That's our comfort zone, right?
It is comfortable. So
yeah. The other one that
you gotta force yourself out.
I'll
push yourself out.
Because we're going to be running out of time here.
Yeah.
The other one I like that you did is you don't go in and spray the whole room with business cards.
No.
In fact, I think if I'm not mistaken, you said I don't even take business cards.
I oftentimes do not take business cards.
Yeah, and just I don't have one, but I'd love to reach out to you. If you have some way to let me know how to get in touch with you, a card or write it down or whatever, I'd love to follow up. And I've really enjoyed meeting you. Hope you have a good event. Look forward to seeing you again.
Yeah, that's definitely a strategy, not to have a business card. One sending they're sending them the information.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, we're at 5. I'll open it up to the floor for a couple of minutes.
Okay.
And Dennis, what I normally do, we have a 5:30 class that starts. Is what I'll do is I'll stop recording right now. And then open it up. I usually hang in with any students, and I'd ask if you got a few minutes. Maybe people like to have a conversation with you as well.
Sure.
But I want to say thank you for running through what you ran through. So go ahead. So the floor is open.
All right. Anybody want to chat? I'm right here.
I had another question.
Okay.
I want to know, what do you do if you're in a situation with someone who's using the same tools that you're teaching us now?
That's fantastic.
Great. Yeah,
that's the best thing that could happen.
Yeah.
That means you guys are going to have a really fruitful conversation because you're both after you're both after helping each other. It's a fantastic thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
that
well,
would-
let me add to that. If you kind of know the ground rules for networking, it makes it much easier to get to a point. Maybe Dennis, maybe I don't have anything to offer Dennis. And so why should I spend, 10, 15 minutes of his time if I really can't do anything for him? And if I come to that conclusion very quickly, it's like bringing out a new product. We would rather know right away if customers like it. And
Yeah.
we would like to know right away if this looks like a good possible relationship we could build, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't, I don't think that would ever be a problem. And truthfully, while these are tactics, when all is said and done, Nala, you have to genuinely like and genuinely engage with them. Because if they're just tactics, people will see through that. So I'm just sharing that because you have to internalize this and make it you. You come off that way. So that you are as genuine as you can possibly be.
Mm-hmm.
The word vulnerable is a very sort of a buzzword in management and leadership.